This is Punk Rock and Politics. Today is May 16th, 2017, and this is episode number 22. Let's do this.
These days are strange, it's true.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
If you think that punk rock doesn't mix with politics, you're wrong.
Welcome to Punk Rock and Politics. Today we'll be talking to vocalist Ronnie X from the band 390 about the libertarian punk scene, the contradiction of Bernie Sanders and his supporters within the punk world, and then we'll go further into the political left's current identity crisis. Then on Open Mic's Last Call, we'll talk about the DNC fraud lawsuit. So let's get to the political mosh pit, but first, here's the news of the week.
Here's what's making news. You want the record account should outweigh those of anonymous sources.
The House Republicans passed the American Health Care Act in the House of Representatives. Now it moves on to the Senate. President Trump fires FBI Director James Comey, blaming Comey's handling of the Hillary Clinton FBI investigation. However, Trump's critics say it was because of Comey's investigation into Trump's coordination with the Russians over the 2016 elections. Are you getting confused yet? Ransomware called WannaCry infects millions of computers in over 100 countries. The ransomware encrypts infected computers' information and requires $300 in Bitcoin for the key to the encryption. The ransomware was created by the CIA for the NSA to use, but hackers got a hold of the programs and made it available to the public. The ransomware is unique in that it will infect other computers that do not have a specific patch to block the ransomware, unlike traditional malware that requires a human to click on a link or download a file in order for a computer to be infected. The patch is available online for all computers using Microsoft systems. The Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post accused President Trump of giving the Russians classified information, and H.R. McMaster's responded for the president.
There's nothing that the president takes more seriously than the security of the American people. The story that came out tonight, as reported, is false. The president and the foreign minister reviewed a range of common threats to our two countries, including threats to civil aviation. At no time, were intelligence sources or methods discussed, and the president did not disclose any military operations that were not already publicly known. Two other senior officials who were present, including the Secretary of State, remember the meeting the same way and have said so. Their on-the-record accounts should outweigh those of anonymous sources.
On this day in rock history, May 16th, 1966, the Beach Boys released the album Pet Sounds in the US, and the album still holds up to this day as one of the best albums ever recorded. And that's the news of the week! The band 390 is a hardcore melodic punk band out of Orange County, California. They promote individual freedom and challenge authority, and as Ronnie, the lead vocalist, pointed out, isn't that the main catalyst that created this musical genre in the first place? 390 highlights the roots of punk, and they pride themselves on bringing back the idea that punk is a tool to fight authority and it allows people to be themselves, and all while letting others do the same, pushing the idea of tolerance for all. But when 390 isn't talking politics or fighting the system, they are rocking the stage with their fast-paced tempo yet melodic punk riffs that will make you want to get up and join the political mosh pit and challenge authority. So before we get to the interview with 390, let's check out one of their songs. Here's Don't Want to Be Controlled by 390.
each other, but you take down all the others. You wanted my money for the poor, but you had all of yours. Now he sits in his house and cries. It's a generation in demise. You better bow down to what they say, 'cause it's gonna be a better day. Don't wanna be controlled. Don't wanna be controlled. Not the kind of thing you want to turn you on. Don't wanna be controlled. Don't wanna be controlled. Look out! Here it comes! Oblivion! We need a new revolution! A new revolution! We need a new revolution! A new revolution! We need a new revolution! A new revolution! And we need it now! Don't wanna be controlled! Don't wanna be controlled! Not the kind of thing you want to turn you on! Don't wanna be controlled! Don't wanna be controlled! Look out! Here it comes! Oblivion! Don't wanna be controlled! Don't wanna be controlled! Not the kind of thing you want to turn you on! Don't wanna be controlled! Don't wanna be controlled! Look out! Here it comes! Oblivion!
So those Don't Want to Be Controlled by 390. And I have Ron, the bassist here, joining us on Punk Rock and Politics. What's up, Ron? How's it going?
Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us here on Punk Rock and Politics.
Yeah, I'm actually the vocalist.
Oh, you're the vocalist.
That's not your fault because there's two Rons in the band.
Oh, okay. I was like, I did my research and I went online and I saw online that the Ron was bassist. So, okay, so there's two Rons and I have the lead vocalist, Ron, here from the band 390. I had the band right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right. And you guys are out of Orange County, correct?
Out of Orange County, northern Orange County.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a little bastion of conservatism in LA there. How's the scene out there in Orange County?
The scene is good. There's a lot of punk bands playing. There's a good underground scene in Orange County. A lot of venues for a lot of punk bands to play.
Cool. That's always good. And you guys describe yourself as melodic hardcore punk?
Yeah, melodic hardcore punk with a definite anti-authoritarian, pro-civil libertarian message to our music.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely always good whenever any bands have some sort of message, and that definitely fits the punk rock vibe. So cool. And then you guys, you've had a few different lineups throughout the year. Is that right?
Yeah, we've bounced around, mostly alternative bands. Mm-hmm. Myself and Eric, the guitarist, decided that, let's do what we really enjoy doing. Let's get that punk band together we always wanted to do. So we picked up Ron Beaver, bassist, a longtime punker, and Mike Dempsey on drums, who's drummed with us before. Mm-hmm. And that's the current lineup we have now. So we're pretty happy with it. Right.
Cool. So this is actually like a project that you wanted to do, something that you're invested in.
Yes. We've always had, it was probably the reason why some of the bands in the past kind of, fragmented. It was because of the artistic, differences, if you will. Mm-hmm. Myself and Eric always wanted to pull the band a little more to the harder music. So it was always a little bit of an issue. Right. So I figured, hey, you know what? Let's just do this full boat, and so here we are.
Yeah, just get a bunch of people with the same vision, and then it usually is really easy. Definitely. Right on. Well, let's play one more, and then let's hop to the political mosh pit. So here's "I Hate the Government" by 390. That was I Hate the Government by 390, and we have Ron, the vocalist, here joining us here on Punk Rock and Politics, and we're going to get to the political mosh pit. So Ron, I Hate the Government, and I heard earlier you said kind of civil libertarian views. So do you want to kind of describe that?
Well, it's pretty, self-explanatory. We basically don't want to get into people's business. I mean, freedom basically is, doing what you want without somebody interfering with you. And that's kind of our message. And then with a very anti-authoritarian slant to our music as well.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is a lot of times it's kind of ironic. I've noticed it, but I was talking to Tibby, the current bassist from Reagan Youth, and she kind of was saying, well, libertarians are kind of like closet Republicans. And I was like, it's kind of true lately. I think the whole true actual libertarian no government mindset is almost kind of doesn't exist in the quote unquote libertarian party anymore.
Well, yeah, I heard that interview. It was a good interview. Well, I think there is a difference today. I think most people kind of confuse Republicans with establishment, Republicans, conservatives, the more social leaning types. I think libertarians, it's still probably, it's a part of people might confuse it with the Republican Party, but I do think it's separate. And, there's a growing amount. I believe there's a growing number of libertarians happening today. And a lot of them, what I've been researching, there's a lot of them that are very closely associated with the anarchistic movement, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of the folks like Adam Kokesh, probably a self-described anarcho-capitalist. It's kind of a voluntarism type of approach to culture.
Yeah,
and I think this is kind of the direction we're leaning in when I talk about pro-civil libertarian. I think punk, if I can be so bold, I think punk has gotten too preachy. In your face.
Yeah.
It's too Puritan. And I think they're missing the boat here. I think there's a new movement of kids coming up, what they call the Generation Z. Those born after 2000, those 20-year-olds that are basically growing up with a very civil libertarian bent, a very anti-authoritarian bent, because they're growing up in a culture that is predominantly left-wing, and that's what they know. Mm-hmm. And as we know, the youth typically don't like the culture, the establishment. That's what they push against. And I think a lot of punkers are missing the boat on this. I think too many punk bands are becoming too, like I said earlier, too preachy. Yeah. Like Anti-Flag, for example. Have you ever checked them out? I mean,
yeah, I definitely like Anti-Flag a lot, and I agree. They're very anti-Trump, and it's kind of just like, I love the band, and I like that they do have a message, but I totally see what you're saying. But going back to like the libertarian thing, the only reason why I kind of say that is because during the debates, I thought personally that, they should have allowed Gary Johnson to be able to debate. But in the Libertarian Party, you kind of see Gary Johnson, who I think he would be kind of more classified as a closet Republican, pretending to be Libertarian. And then you have Ron Paul, who is he's more of an actual Libertarian, I would think.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. I think you can probably say that with both parties. I think there's crossover.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
There's crossover both parties. And I think, I don't know if anybody is any pure anything.
No, that's true. That's true. But I think it hurts that movement to have that movement, being represented by, Gary Johnson. I have nothing against him, but as far as libertarians, I think Ron Paul is a really good person. I personally don't really necessarily identify as libertarian, but I definitely respect Ron Paul because, he's always intellectually honest. And so going back to the anti-authority thing and that being punk rock, I think you totally have a really good point about how punk rock is really anti-authority and anti-establishment. And the establishment has been a liberal, PC culture, very, inclusive and, watch what you say and the social justice warriors. And I see that being pushed on everyone. So I could totally see how you're saying a punk movement could be anti what that is.
Well, yeah, and I think, and I'll go back to what I initially said, I think punk has got into remember when punk first started, one of the main, attitudes was just leave me alone. Let me dress what I want to, wear what I want to wear, let me smoke what I want to smoke, let me spike my hair, just leave me alone. I remember an early Black Flag interview where the guy's talking about, pushing back against the cultural tariffs of its time. Well, it seems to me there's a lot of punkers are putting up their own cultural tariffs. I mean, listen to Jello Biafra, listen to Henry Rollins, listen to Anti-Flag. These guys are very preachy. I was just checking out Anti-Flag. I mean, if you don't agree with Anti-Flag, you're a homophobe, you're a xenophobe, you're all sorts of bad. You're a bad person.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, guys, that's not punk.
Uh-huh.
Punk was supposed to be open-minded, You're supposed to be, tolerant of a lot of ideas. And I just think punk's missing the boat. I mean, I do look at punk today. Not all of punk, of course. I'm talking about those punk bands that we tend to recognize with the ones I mentioned in Green Day. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely pushing their views on people. So that's why I get back to the civil libertarian thing. I mean, for us, it's like, you know what? We respect your point of view, and we can get along. There's no need for name calling. We don't have to go to the Grammys and call Trump a Nazi. I mean, it's just gotten. Remember when the Sex Pistols first came on the scene? It was the Christian right that tried to stop the Sex Pistols. Because why? Because they were too offensive.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay? Now it's like, it's the opposite. These punkers are getting offended by people. It's like, gee, guys, come on, man. That's I don't know. I just think that's the wrong message to be sending.
Definitely. Definitely. I completely agree. And it's the lack of willingness to debate or even have a conversation with the other side, with the right side, that the left is doing. And it's just creating more division, but it's also just madness, like you said. And then not only will they not talk to the other side, they're like, oh, well, you can't discuss with a fascist. You can't have a discussion with a fascist because then you legitimize them. And it's
that's the reason why they call him a fascist.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you don't have to have an actual debate.
Yeah, you shut down all dialogue. But I do find it unique with punk, though, that I don't know, and maybe you can agree with this or not, but what's so unique about punk is it's the only musical genre that divides itself along, ideological lines or, attitude. Do you ever notice that? I mean, you have anarchist punks, you have, socialist punks, you have Nazi punks, skin punks, left-leaning punks. Isn't that strange that punkers, we divide ourselves along these lines? Yeah. And I don't think that's true for any other genre.
Well, one genre I do see that with is the hardcore metal, rock, heavy rock, now there's djent. So there's several different, heavy metal. My friend, he's really into heavy hard rock. And I always say, yo, you and your heavy metal. He's like, oh, that's 80s rock music. I listen to djent, and I'm like, well, so metal does it too.
Okay. All right.
On the last interview, actually, this is funny, where highlight reel of all the previous shows, but on the last one at the courthouse, I forgot which member said it, but they had such a good point about they kind of think that when punk went mainstream, a lot of the different groups splintered off and created these subgenres to almost get away from the popular, the popular culture of the pop punk world, the Green Days, Blink-182s, and the super popular one. So then also if you look at metal or the heavier, hardcore music, once they kind of got popular, in the late 2000s. And then that's when you could see a lot of these heavier genres being created. And I think that's the same effect. They're kind of trying to splinter away from the
I think they're trying to get back to the basics, because they see the core values of what it is to be punk slipping away. Exactly. So they need to bring it back a little bit and try to get back to the basics. Like, I don't understand, and I might, you might disagree with me with this, but if punk is supposed to be anti-authoritarian, I don't understand why so many punkers are hopping on board with the Bernie Sanders types. I mean, nothing against Bernie Sanders, but this guy is a quintessential authoritarian. And I was watching an interview with Henry Rollins, and I'm for Bernie Sanders. Anti-flag, I'm for Bernie Sanders. Jello Biafra, I'm for Bernie. I'm thinking, do they not see the big elephant in the room? I mean, I always thought that punk, by definition, was anti-authority, anti-big government, which is the biggest institution, the biggest authoritarian institution in our culture. And yet so many punkers are embracing this. So I was kind of interested in your take on that, because I've listened to you, and you're a very thoughtful person on this topic, and I know you're a Bernie man. So I just wonder how you juggle that.
No, that is a great kind of an oxymoron. It's almost hard to put those two schools of thought together. But what I think really what it comes down to is there's big government and big corporation. And I think the far left, they see that big corporation is more evil than big government, so they've aligned with big government, and then vice versa on the right. But I think why a lot of people going to Bernie is because personally they see a lot of the problems that have been going on, which isn't necessarily conservative economic values, but it's almost a neoliberal, a world economic value. So I think all the problems of the economic situation hasn't been just cast onto both parties like it should be. It's been only cast onto the Republicans. So a lot of the younger generation just see, all Republicans, like we were saying earlier, are fascists, or all Republicans have to be racist. So I have to go to the right. And then if you look, or the left. And then if I look at the left, well, Hillary, who no one trusts Hillary, or Bernie. And Bernie has a lot of things that are very great, the good ideas, universal health care or free college for everyone, because if we offer these things, I think the younger generation sees that as helping our society. But you're totally right, because it is in direct conflict of being punk rock and the whole anarchy view. And I doing the show and talking to people and getting different viewpoints, I'm almost getting to the school of thought, because I would love to go live off grid all by myself, just, and with my family, grow a garden. But that's totally libertarianism and the opposite. So I think there has to be some sort of world where we can have social equality for people who want it, but also provide an anarchy way of living, or let people go live off grid, which the left doesn't want to let people do that.
No, and I don't disagree with so much what you're saying. I would just put, because you're kind of drifting off into the political, and that's a whole other debate that we could agree with or not. But I'm trying to keep it within a punk context. I agree, big business sucks. Okay. So I don't know why if you're going to be hold the punk principles, seriously, it seems to me that you should be against both those authoritarian institutions, the corporate America and the big government.
Exactly.
I always say the difference between, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I agree. I agree with exactly what you're saying. Be against both.
Yeah, but here's the irony though, and I don't begrudge anybody for making a buck, but I just get a little annoyed at these bands that complain about corporate America. But you ever been to a punk fest?
Yeah,
it's corporate America.
Well, Warped Tour. That's why I really don't like Warped Tour anymore. I used to love it, but now I'm like, it's just, like you said, it's a corporate fest. Same with Coachella. Coachella is same exact thing. Exactly. These bands preach, anarchy and we need this and that, but then they go and play on the Pepsi stage at some X festival.
And I think Jim Lindbergh mentioned this. He's pretty honest about it. We talked about this. We're these anti-corporate messages, yet we go play, and everywhere around we play these big festivals. There's nothing but big business, and everybody's making a buck. And so there seems to be a little bit of a double standard, if you will. But I don't begrudge anybody for making a buck. I mean, isn't that the system in which we live in? I just I just find it a bit.
It's a little intellectually dishonest. Is what you're trying to say. Yeah,
that's why we tend to kind of keep our message to what I was telling you earlier. Just the anti-authoritarian message. Really, we're really kind of pushing back against the growth of the state and this whole surveillance state, the NSA, and all that's going on right now with this Trump administration. I mean, it's just crazy to me, Well,
the surveillance state, that's the thing, that the surveillance state started under Bush, it grew exponentially under Obama, and then is still growing under Trump. So that's my take. I've stepped back, and I'm kind of just to the point where, both parties are just, they're basically serving the same masters. And also, people want to look at the corporations and the government being two big evil entities, one on the right or left, but really they're the same thing. The corporation and the government, the people go in and out of government and corporation like revolving doors.
No, I know. And they're lobbyists. Once they come out, they're lobbyists making big bucks. Exactly. Because they know everybody, and they're hiring it's a big world of nepotism. They're hiring their family members, and it's a big scam. And us living in California, this place is becoming increasingly difficult to live here. I mean, it's just so heavily taxed. I just got my car smogged, and it's just ridiculous. And that my registration went up 25%, it's, and gas taxes are supposed to go up.
They're talking about, I think it was 12 cents a dollar on gas tax that they're trying to put to repair the roads out
so
here.
That'll be like 72 cents for every gallon now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's and it makes it difficult, to buy my next guitar.
Yeah. Well, and that buying your guitar spurs the economy, and that's how we grow the economy. So, and then another thing. I was raised here in California, and then I always go back to this. Lived in Arizona for like 7 years, hardcore red state, and everyone there has guns. And I kind of freaked out at first, but after living out there and living around it and watching responsible gun owners actually live responsibly and going out and shooting them, I was like, wow, they're not that evil. Coming back to California, and then all the laws and restrictions and regulations on a handgun, it's like, wow, that's another problem with the left. But anyone on the left, if you just so happen to question it, you want to encourage mass shooting, you're a puppet for the NRA, or any of this.
And I think the best antidote for all this is just, like you said, just get to know people. I think that will probably relieve a lot of fears we have toward one another. But that's the problem nowadays. We've become our culture's become so, politicized, so fragmented. We live. I mean, I remember one historian was talking about. It's like we're living in 1860. It's not the slave states anymore, but we're living in just two types of states that really are just so much different.
Yes.
You have the red states and the blue states, and we are increasingly becoming, different. Yeah. It used to be you had this. It was different paths for the same, ends. Now it's like there's two different paths with two different complete ends in mind. Well, and that's why I think you're having the issues today with what's going on. A simple Supreme Court nominee. I mean, Democrats don't want him because I think because the ideology is so different nowadays. Yeah, that it's causing real problems, and I'm wondering if anything is going to get done because of this fragmentation.
No, it's only going to get worse. And like you were saying, red state, blue state. It's worse than that actually, because if you go, it's county by county. So if you actually go and look at a population map, and then if you lay the population map on top of a county map and how the counties voted, literally the high population areas all go blue, and then the rural areas all go red 90% of the time. And all the districts are so gerrymandered that each red or blue, the Republican or Democrat, they hold their seat so they can be as extreme as they want because 80% of their constituents are their party, and that's on both sides is what's going on with that. Yeah. So, okay, but going back to that punk thing, I was kind of like I want to give you a good answer because I think that's a really relevant question and it deserves a viable answer. And I think for punks, everything that's, that we like about the music and the community and everything, I think they're just slow to hop on the bandwagon or to accept that things have shifted. It's almost, the cool thing was to be against the man, and the man was Reagan, and Thatcher, back in the 80s, and and then Bush kind of in the, in the early 2000s. And I think that mind state of, the man is the Republican and the Democrat, well, they're just kind of our friend who isn't as bad as the Republican. I think that mind state just hasn't left and hasn't flipped yet.
No, I think you're probably right. I think that, it's the old saying that, the mills of the gods grind slowly. I don't think people have caught up to the cultural shift. There's no doubt about it that in the 80s, it was a predominantly, right of center culture. And that's what people were pushing against.
Exactly.
And today it's shifted. And I think the left now controls the culture. And that's pretty easy to see when you look at, academia, Hollywood, the media, social media. These are all basically left-leaning institutions. And I think you're right. I don't think a lot of people have quite realized this now, that maybe the new anti-establishment might be that more, I don't want to say conservative, but maybe the libertarian.
Anti-authority. And that's the thing that the left totally does agree on, is the against the Big Brother state. And that was when way back in the day when the Tea Party first started up in 2010. They actually were about less bailouts. That's why they really started. And then they kind of got co-opted by the Koch brothers and went downhill. And then same with the Occupy Wall Street. So I was totally like, man, if Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party movement were able to get together and actually just have a conversation about, we're not for bailing out these large corporations, we're not for surveillance state. These two groups on the right and the left totally agree on these things, but we let these little stupid gun rights, abortion, all these little itty bitty things that aren't that big in the grand scheme of things keep us divided.
Yeah, and I also think with the Tea Party, for example, I think a lot of them were just co-opted once they got into office. They got tempted by the money and the need to get reelected, and a lot of them, my understanding, just got co-opted with the whole political system. Yeah, and a lot of that steam was let out of them, but they're still a pretty powerful part of the party.
Yeah, I was talking about the movement in general, but I think you're right with some of the politicians who were elected. But I mean, but then you have to give them credit that the Tea Party, those guys in the Freedom Caucus, they stopped Trump's healthcare bill. So I mean, and he's on his side. So like, they did do what they're supposed to do, but that's something else. That's a whole nother thing.
I get your point. No, your point is well taken. And no, you're right though. I think we often do get bogged down into the weeds a lot of times and lose sight of what we're really pushing against. And I don't know, for me, it's just, I just want to see less authority in my life.
I agree.
I want to keep the fruits of my labor. All right. And I want to spend, my hard-earned money on my family, and I think most people probably agree with that. And just this overgrowing, Leviathan state that we have here in California and in the federal government, I don't think it's a good thing for our personal freedoms and our personal liberties. Yeah. Especially going back to the surveillance states, while what's going on now with this unmasking and leaking people to the press. I mean, it's pretty scary stuff. When our politicians can't, mind themselves in using these things for their personal gains, if you will.
Well, that's what everyone was saying back, when Bush was first pushing the Patriot Act and all this NSA wiretapping. Is everyone's like, well, this could be used to blackmail politicians. Why is this okay? Yeah. And then now, 10 years, 15 years later, that's what it's being used for. Who would have thought?
Exactly. Yeah. No, and then credit to those people early on who were pushing against the Patriot Act, warning against stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. But everyone was, mainly they're, I have nothing to hide. That was the mantra back then.
Right. Yeah. But I don't know anymore. I mean, anybody could be, can be spied on and leaked, and it's kind of scary, when you think about it.
Yeah, it definitely creates this like terror in the citizens. And I think the left, a lot of the left who are just so anti-Trump, their anger and hatred for Trump blinds them. That's my Yoda kind of thing. Their anger for Trump just blinds them to the overall corruption in the government that's bigger and more pervasive than Trump. Like I said before, Trump is not the problem. He's just a symptom of the problem.
No, I couldn't agree more. Because remember back during when Bush had the Patriot Act, who were the civil libertarians? It was, libertarians on the left.
Yeah, that was Dennis Kucinich on the far left, and then Ron Paul on the far right were teaming up. Exactly, and that was like so awesome. That was a beautiful thing.
And now who's protecting the surveillance state today?
The left.
Looks like to me the Democrats, the left.
Well, and then the war, the whole war thing. I don't even want to get started on that. The left is just they're begging to go to war with Russia, and it's like, what? Yeah,
but I think you're right though. I think it just all comes down to their hatred to Trump.
Yeah, it does.
They've lost sight of their principles. They hate this guy so much that they're willing to compromise on these basic tenets that they've been behind for so long. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it worries me that by the time the left and a lot of my fellow comrades on the left actually wake up to this and actually form a new left, the real left, that we can get along with the right, because we have so much in common with the right. Like, I feel like it almost is going to be too late before they wake up. But one more thing before we wrap this up, I think that the far left and far right can totally agree on is off-grid sustainable living. Like you said, you want to be left alone, but that's not almost illegal to the point. Growing food on your own lawn, collecting rainwater here in California is illegal. Why is that illegal?
Well, because the government says so.
Yeah, well, exactly. And the crazy thing is this is a left, I thought collecting rainwater is good for the environment, which is a left principle, yet it's a left government that's pushing this idea of not collecting rainwater. So that's that cognitive dissonance.
I believe, you've been very honest with your analysis of the left, but I do think there is a part of the left that needs to control things. And this is why I think part of that to me there is a totalitarian streak on the left that they have to control stuff.
Yeah.
You probably disagree with that, but it's because I believe that the left, in order to stay in control, they ultimately have to use force. I don't think they're really civil libertarians at heart, and because if you take left to its extreme, it is it's an authoritarian type of political system. If you take socialism to its extreme, that's what it is. It's all based on force. So I believe these are natural instincts of the left, and I think, and maybe this new left will have a civil libertarian streak to it. I don't know. I think I get your take on that, but that's always been my sense of the left.
Yeah, I think in both the right and the left, there's a small group of elite corporate power who want control, and they'll do anything for that control. Through the right, they'll use it through fear and the police state, and then through the left, they'll use it through the political correctness culture and the word thought police type culture.
No, I agree.
I think there's a small group of both, but I mean, and then capitalism has its faults, and so does socialism, and definitely communism. But then they all kind of have good things. So there has to be something new that's going to be coming about. And like I said, that the right and the left, there's so many things that the far right and the far left really agree on, and I think most Americans do, like not bailing out the banks, letting people earn enough money to be able to provide for their family, letting people live off grid, letting people collect their own rainwater. I think most common sense people agree with these things. So we need to come together on these things, and then we can have a civil discussion on the more complicated things of our society.
Couldn't agree more. And then we could fight over what's the best punk band ever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Once our society stops fucking
real
falling
meaningful
apart,
stuff.
and then we could, yeah, exactly. I know. It's like, oh my God. So, well, let's wrap this up, man. This is a really fun interview. When we were first kind of like, well, let's just talk about punk. I'm like, oh no, man, where's this? But that was really
we never
good.
got into whether or not Donald Trump is punk. We never got into that.
Well, it's funny. I ask a lot of people, if Trump will make punk rock great again, and some people get, kind of offended. Other people are just like, no, and yeah. So it's like, well,
It's funny. I shared that thing. You put a thing up of Trump. Just that on your Facebook, and I shared that up to mine. And some guy just right away just starts ripping on Trump. I think you were doing it in humor, but right away he got offended.
Yeah.
That Trump would even be associated with punk.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you that there's that hostility that we were talking about on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I kind of saw that meme. You could take it I kind of think you could see it two ways, where Trump is punk rock and he's making it great again, or Trump is like Bodie, he's like fucking the system up so bad that he's creating punk to be great again. So I when I posted that, I was like, man, that's a great meme, because it's like either side can see it in their own it's like a Rorschach. You see it in your own view. But
and I don't know how much time we have left, but I do think people sometimes just forget that you don't have to be a punk rocker to be punk. I mean, we often refer to Johnny Cash as being punk, it was more of an attitude.
Exactly.
And I think
Yes.
Trump, in many ways, Trump does exemplify that. I mean, this guy, he's sticking his middle finger at the entire establishment, and that is punk.
Yeah.
And,
Well, until he bombs Syria.
What's that?
Until he bombs Syria, man. I'm never gonna let him down about bombing.
No, and
Syria.
I agree with that. I was pretty much talking about, maybe up to the election,
Oh yeah.
campaign.
Definitely.
Now I think he's going to act like any other politician.
Yeah. He got in there and he kind of sold out, because like we were saying earlier, the deep state, or whatever you want to call it, they had some dirt on him, just like Obama, I'm sure, and then they were able to control him. Just new president, same problems. That's a quote from my friend. It's totally the truth,
Mm-hmm.
So, well, yeah, man, this is a really great conversation. I'm glad you're able to join us here on Punk Rock and Politics. So before we head out and hear another song, can you let everyone know what's the best way to find information on your band 390?
Oh, 390band.com is our website. And from there, you can connect to all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's probably the best way to find us. We're on SoundCloud as well.
You guys have some cool, some pretty badass YouTube videos of some skate punk and stuff. It's pretty cool, yeah. Yeah,
I put that together myself.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's cool. Those remind me of, remember back in the old 90s when they had those, like, skate videos on VHSs and they would hand them out, and that's everyone watched those. That's totally what it reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just having fun, let's have fun.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, exactly. And that's what it's all about. We can have a good conversation from different perspectives, and then at the day, enjoy some fucking good music and have some fun and get in the mosh pit.
Yeah, and I also want to thank you for what you're doing for us, man. It's great because, this is a good platform, and a lot of bands like us don't get a chance to have this platform. So kudos to you, Michael.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to get on any music band, that I can get, large, small, and I treat them all the same, like, so, because everyone is fucking doing their thing, and all these bands, so many talented bands. I'm just, I feel like I'm the lucky one. So thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, here, let's go check out one more by the band 390, and with the whole conversation, this is very fitting. This title, Stop Bugging Me by 390. All right, and I really have to thank Ronnie from the band 390. He was a good sport, and that was really fun, going back and forth. See, and here on Punk Rock and Politics, we can have differing opinions on, have a good little conversation, and listen to some awesome music and part ways, and not be angry. So I think it's possible if we could do this on this little 2-bit, crappy little barely put together podcasts that we can actually do that more often in any type of dialogue situation that we have. So yeah, I'd like to again thank Ronnie for coming on and doing that. But yeah, so welcome to Open Mic's Last Call, and here we are. We're going to talk about the DNC fraud lawsuit, because this is definitely not getting enough coverage in the press, and the only coverage that it is getting in the press is by like alternative news media like the Young Turks and a few other, YouTube people. But basically the Young Turks are the main one, and they had a segment on it, and they basically just shat all over the DNC lawsuit, said, oh, it's frivolous, it's a joke, it doesn't even mean anything, which is totally not the case, because the people who are bringing together the lawsuit, it's a couple. I don't know their first, Jared Beck, and then his wife. I'm not sure what her first name is. But she actually is the founder of a super PAC called the Jam PAC, because she worked for Bernie Sanders, and now they created this lawsuit, basically, which is suing the DNC as well as Debbie Wasserman Schultz under fraud, basically, for lying and saying that they were not impartial, and claiming that they were impartial, which throughout the whole 2016 presidential election, they totally said they were impartial. And then later with WikiLeaks, we found out they weren't impartial. They were, in fact, pushing the everything for Hillary and hurting Bernie. And then now the lawyer in court, he basically admitted that, yeah, we can pick whoever we want. And the quote is, I mean, this has been all over, but is, we can go back and pick any person we want with cigars in a back smoky room, and that's who we can pick. Which, it's like, okay, DNC, first of all, how out of touch are you? You're talking about if you want, you can go back in a back room and with cigars, smoking cigars, and pick any candidate you want. Yeah, with Bill Clinton and like cigars, I don't think you want to really talk about that. But they're trying to reference back in the old times, where before we had elections, primary elections, the parties, they did just pick who they wanted, but that they were honest about it. Now they have these elections, and people work and donate money and actually donate their time, and that is more than money in a way. And then the DNC is actually that was just all a charade. It was all just a show. But now we're going with Hillary all along. So they should have just said that at the beginning. We don't even need to do the elections because we don't have to. Our lawyer says that we can pick whoever we want, so there's no point in even doing the primary elections. So this lawsuit is totally, it's going somewhere. Everyone who's said it's not going to go somewhere, all these alternative media outlets, they don't know what they're talking about, or they're being way too optimistic. But it's just the way that the Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC lawyers are conducting themselves is just so arrogant and just so stupid, because they're basically hurting their whole case by admitting that, yeah, we could pick who we want. We didn't, and we didn't. And we wouldn't, but we could. So, okay, so what's the big deal? We need to just drop it, right? And go back and move on, focus on the resistance of Trump, get our pink pussy hats on and go march and say, Trump, you're a bad man, right? That's what all the Hillary people want. No, come on, move on, keep going. No, this is important because this will actually create how our elections are going forward forever. It would create a completely unbiased primary systems in both parties. This lawsuit, if it goes through, it's a fraud civil lawsuit. If it actually goes through, or they settle out of court, anything, but this definitely could settle precedent. And they're not gonna just bend over, lay over and just whatever. Like, they're going. I've listened to quite a bit of interviews. They've been doing so many. The wife and Jared Beck, the lawyers on this case, and they are definitely they're not going to just stop. And this has been an issue that keeps being pushed and pushed and pushed. And then on the other side, on the media, who want to just downplay this lawsuit, there's a huge underground swelling of people who are totally rejecting them. And it's just hilarious watching the Young Turks be destroyed right now by H.A. Goodman and Tim Black and a lot of these other real progressive voices on the internet who are actually the real alternative liberal progressive voices, unlike the Young Turks, who are basically MSNBC for YouTube. I mean, they're nothing. They're really horrible. I used to watch them, but now it's not. It's basically, like I said, MSNBC for YouTube. So Young Turks are hurting themselves by saying this isn't a big deal, because it is a big deal, and let's watch how this goes through. It's going to take a little while for the judge to decide what's going to happen, if they need to have an answer or if they need to refile everything. But I really think this is going to go somewhere, and really might be a big deal, because you can't, as an organization, because the DNC is an organization, you can't lie and say we're doing it this way. It's even in our charter. It's in our charter that we're going to be unbiased, but then we're going to go and be unbiased and solicit money while we're doing so, while we're lying. I mean, you might as well go around, sell water, say, well, you sprinkle this on your head and it'll give you hair. I mean, you're lying in order to get money. There's no way around it. I don't see how the judge is going to drop this case. There's no way. There's just no way. So, let's hope this case goes through. Once again, it's the DNC fraud lawsuit. Jared Beck and his wife. Oh, I really wish I knew her. Victoria, I believe. But yeah, Google Jared Beck or just Beck DNC lawsuit. Fraud lawsuit. Read. Really, the only information you're going to get on it is if you go to Jam Pack website themselves. You could read the actual transcript from the first hearing, the first in court, what the DNC lawyer and W. Wasserman Schultz lawyer said. And then you can also, the only other way is getting interviews directly from the lawyers, because no real media outlet is covering this. And it's like, I wonder why. This is an actual interesting, great story, but no media outlet's going to cover it. Of course not. So, all right, well, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But I can't wait to report more on that, and just wait. We're just waiting for more information, because that is going to be huge, and I'm sure something's going to happen out of that, and hopefully it will make it so from now on the primaries have to be unbiased and ran officially, and it's gonna be good. Maybe then we can get ranked choice voting and get more power to the third parties, Libertarian Party and the Green Party. So let's keep fighting, keep pushing this, and thanks everyone for joining us here on Open Mic's Last Call and Punk Rock and Politics. We'll check you next week. Peace out. Thanks for checking out Punk Rock and Politics. If you enjoyed the show and the information brought to you, please subscribe and share the podcast. It helps us here at Punk Rock and Politics, but more importantly, it helps the featured bands gain exposure. Also, if you know any bands or musicians who would like to join the political mosh pit and have their music featured on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast, please email us at punkrockandpolitics@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. And rock on, political junkies.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives.
Doing a better job of talking to each other. The left hand now knows what the right hand is doing.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands?
And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.